What's going on, Raider Nation? Another crazy win. I haven't had another stupid, dramatic win like this since, well, went over the Steelers a little bit earlier. I got to keep a calm composure. I definitely shouted and was yelling and angry at this game, but let me just break down. We won. I should be happy. We're not the worst team in the NFL. Thank goodness. We're not. First off, though, the negatives to this game. A lot of bad things in this game. One, the offensive line. The offensive line was horrible. Tons of pressure. I could not block for Darren McFadden. Some of it might be personnel. Some of it is zone blocking scheme. I don't know who to blame, but that offensive line was horrible today. And if you were watching the game, you know what I'm talking about. Palmer was pressured. Luckily, he was able to get rid of the ball a lot, but I thought our zone blocking scheme and crap wasn't working. We could not run the ball for crap. And it showed that Carson Palmer took a sneak up the middle instead of running the ball to McFadden because we couldn't punch it in. So yeah, that was a negative to this game. The other negative, Phillip Adams, that whole muffed punt. Gosh, I hate muffed punts. Not enough said there. Third, in-game management. I did not like the in-game management when we were driving near the end. I know that we had to settle for a field goal a few times, and I thought our play calling wasn't very smart. There were some predictable play calls, especially those second down running plays to McFadden. I mean, the blocking wasn't there. Don't say this is all just McFadden being bad. This is no holes at all. The offensive line can't do a thing, and there was, going back to the offensive line negative, Willie Smith, there's a lineman on your right. He's the defensive end. You're supposed to block him. He was looking at the guy in the middle. I don't know why Carson Palmer got sacked, but because of Willie Smith, he wasn't looking at the guy to his right. It was stupid. Really, really stupid. The other in-game management part was that delay of game and some of that drive where they didn't communicate. We wasted our timeouts as well in the second half. I was very furious over that, how we were wasting our timeouts left and right like they're candy. Not very nice. But lastly, of course, the turnovers were also not very good. There was just kind of a fluke turnover. That was Carson Palmer's interception. There was that really bad fumble by, I think it was McFadden. That was awful to see. Enough said about that. But now going to the positives. The biggest positive was the defense, and in particular Miles Burris, but everyone on defense did very well. And in my opinion, the defense only gave up 10 points this entire game. They had one mistake, which was that throw from Blaine Gabbert to I think Cecil Shorts. Tyvon Branch misread the route. It was open as a book. That was embarrassing. But it's one touchdown, and then there was that one field goal they gave up that was a little bit longer. But yeah, those were 10 points, in my opinion. The only 10 points the defense gave up. The other two was a touchdown because of the stupid muffed punt. They also got a field goal off of a fumble. And then they got a field goal off of a fluke interception by Carson Palmer. That was a weird bounce. One of those right place, right time moments. I'm not going to blame Palmer too much for that when he's pressured. The offensive line was the bigger issue this game. But yeah, the positive defense. Defense kept us in the game. Jacksonville should have pulled away when it was 17-3. I wasn't feeling it this game, but the defense hung in there and they stayed strong. I know Jacksonville fans, I know Cartman, you're going to fall back on Blaine Gabbert being injured. We knocked out Maurice Jones-Drew, a hometown boy, off of the, I believe it was the second play of the game or something. Maurice Jones-Drew gets hurt when he comes back home to the Bay Area. As the telecast showed, former De La Salle guy, he played, last time he played in the Coliseum was in high school in the state championship game, or the NorCal NCS, and I remember his high school 151 win streak. Hated losing to them. Enough about that. The injuries there definitely affected the Jaguars' offense. They were dead pretty much the entire game, in my opinion. They only got a few yards, a few scores early on, but mostly there were turnovers by the Raiders that set up those points. So the defense, big positive. The other positive, Carson Palmer. Carson Palmer was money. And you might say his statistics won't show for it, but if you watched the game, he was under pressure so much, but he was able to get rid of the ball in time. He was smart. He was only sacked like 2 times. He was forced to really just run under pressure or get rid of it fast, and he was able to make some of those key throws that mattered. Streeter, that one pass to Streeter near the end was huge. He did throw one also to Streeter that he dropped, and I thought that was pretty big as well. That the throw was good. Just unfortunately he didn't catch it. But Palmer, Really, really fortunate that and smart that he was able to get rid of the balls in time. Yeah, thankful still the defense. The defense just played lights out. They could have given up a play like they did to the Falcons, but they didn't. They forced a fumble. What do you know? Overtime. Janikowski makes the field goal. It's in. Which brings me another positive. Janikowski. I know he was short on the long field goal, but it's another field goal. We did just enough to win this game. Just enough. And, yeah, of course we'll take it. 4 field goals in the game. It wasn't pretty. This was one of the uglier wins, but the saying of "just win, baby" lives for the Raiders. Sure did today. The receivers were not open. Palmer was struggling all day because there was no one open. He wasn't given protection. That was horrible. And I'll give credit to the Jags defensive line. They did a pretty good job pulling some stunts at pass rushing, stopping the run. We couldn't run the ball at all. But yeah, a win's a win. And I'm thankful for that. Lastly, the one thing, of course, that ticked me off was the team was not fundamentally ready for that onside kick when the Jags pulled that off. I mean, we deserved it. They weren't respecting us, and we were playing horrible. Didn't deserve it when you could pull an onside kick like that. Luckily, we didn't do anything. The defense hung in there and actually forced a 3-and-out. But the onside kick, that pissed me off. More because of what the Raiders did, not because of what the Jaguars did. Still a lot of work to be done in this game. There's still a lot of things that need to be fixed. But the other thing, of course, the penalties. Real stupid false starts. Really stupid offsides. There was those offsides penalties that pissed me off. I can't name them all. But fortunately, there weren't as many personal fouls or as many stupid defensive penalties that allowed first downs. That was the good news. This time it happens to the Jaguars from that pass interference when Heyward-Bey, who I know he had a drop, but he drew that penalty, and technically he was open. If he didn't make that penalty, that should have been a touchdown. So another positive there. I do think there was, the last thing I'll address is that one brain fart by Denarius Moore. Learn to realize how much time is left in the game. You don't have to get out of bounds and stop the clock. Get the first down. And I don't think he realized that. I mean, if there was like 10 seconds in the game, yeah, you get out of bounds, but please, be smarter. This team was really dumb today. They played the worst they could for about 2.5 quarters, and then the fourth quarter, they finally woke up offensively. Greg Knapp, I still hate Greg Knapp. This doesn't take anything away from that. I still think our offensive line specifically has been trash. But it's a win. I'll enjoy it. We're not the worst team in the NFL. We're barely not, but still in danger of a lot of things to come. They got to work on things. But defense, great job by the defense. Great job by Carson Palmer. We'll see you guys later. And go Raiders. And by the way, for those of you wondering and keeping track, you know, walk-offs, I know it's a baseball term, walk-offs. The A's had 15 walk-offs this year in the Oakland Coliseum. The Raiders now have 2. That means there have been 17 walk-offs for the calendar year of 2012, for those who haven't realized that. So, another walk-off win. These things are just too stressful, what the A's and what the Raiders have done in walk-off wins. But we'll see you guys later. Go Raiders.